course, the trailer for the next Avengers movie, the direct sequel to Avengers Infinity War. We learned the title of the movie is actually Avengers Endgame. That trailer was just dropped a couple of days ago. And basically, it told us little to nothing. In fact, it probably just brought up more questions than answering any questions we already had to begin with. And you know what? That's exactly what it needed to do. I mean, it's making us just want to know more and giving us more of a reason to want to be awaiting the final release of this movie. Okay, great to have you on. Charles Thomas of the DukeCT Lounge now on with us. Hope to have you all. I hope to actually have you and possibly Writer's Block on next week when we talk about WWE TLC. But you know, if you have your 2 cents to chime in on this Avengers trailer, would definitely love to hear your take on it.
It looks very, well, honestly grim, as you saw the after effects of the, snap. And if you look at the Infinity War, the Gauntlet, the comics and such, Thanos does do that. In fact, in the beginning of the book, he pretty much does. He snaps and takes, 50% of the entire planet. All life is just gone. And it seems like they're trying to do something to try to rectify this issue for the most part. And when you see what they're going to do, I think they're going to try to do something with the quantum realm, which they said in Ant-Man and Wasp, which I thought was a good movie. I thought more, that sort of thing. But they also said that you can actually go through time and such. So I think that's going to be that. I think Captain Marvel is going to play a significant role. And they're going to try to fit, I do think one of the main characters, Iron Man or Captain America, might be sniffing out Steve Rogers. I think one of them are going to finally, or both. I think that will be more interesting because both Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans seem to be tired of the superhero thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to bow out and bring in some new people into it, be it by another actor or just have someone else replace them. But then again, I think this is going to be a really interesting movie. I sit there and I'm like, what are they going to do? What type of things are they going to, what's going to be the aftermath of this? Some are saying this is how the mutants become into MCU because after reversing the snap, the X gene comes in because of, Fox, because of the Fox deal and such. But I don't know what.
Yes, then we got the finally addition of getting the rest of the Marvel universe that Fox had control of. Definitely, there's going to be a lot of questions as to whether or not how that would affect the plans they had for the next segment. I will go ahead and make this prediction here. What I've always said is that I don't know exactly what would happen, but I would say 3 individuals are going to play very key roles. This is going to be a team effort by the Avengers, as it always is, I would say that. But I think 3 individuals are going to play huge roles because of stuff that happened in future movies. One is Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, for the obvious reasons. Number 2, yes, Tony Stark. I think this is his, because I think he, more than anyone, might take as much responsibility for everything that's happened, because that's just what Tony does. I mean, for all of the faults that Tony Stark has, he's always been a guy who's put all the burden and pressure of the world on himself. I don't think few people in the MCU take more responsibility for the entire world than Tony Stark. He's been out to try to end war and fighting from the beginning, from the start of the MCU began.
Yeah, because of his actions.
Yeah, so I think how
it's a bit Batman-esque, if you think about it, is that he wants to end his...
Yes, very, very much so. But the third person here, like I said, it came back to something, a conversation that occurred all the way back in the first Avengers movie. And I think one person who's going to be very key is Dr. Banner in this whole thing. I just keep thinking back to that one talk that Banner and Tony had in the first Avengers movie, where it was, so you're saying the other guy saved my life? That's nice. It's a nice sentiment. Saved it for what? I guess we'll find out. This is what it's been building up to, in my estimation. Especially when you look at everything Bruce went through in Infinity War, where he could not even transform. Something's going on with him to try to find a way that something's been holding him back. And this it's going to be very key into what ultimately is going to be able to resolve this issue. Now, the point I was getting here with the trailer was, hold on. I could tell you at least one person apparently said he was not going to be watching the movie now because of that trailer and because of that stinger at the end that showcased Scott Lang instead of Captain Marvel, saying that, oh, they were lying to us and it's not going to have anything to do with Captain Marvel at all. And, like, does that person know anything about marketing? I mean,
no, and let's be...
Yeah, we know that Captain Marvel is going to have a part in Avengers 4, but Captain Marvel's movie hasn't even come out yet. One, you're not gonna... this is one thing I want to give Marvel Studios all the credit in the world for. In an age where we expect almost all the good parts of movies to be given away in the trailers, they've done a phenomenal job most of the time in holding that stuff back. Not giving stuff away, but making people ask more questions and getting them even more compelled into the upcoming movies. And that's what I think this trailer has done more than anything else. We know Carol Danvers is going to show up in Avengers 4. We were all wondering if Scott Lang was going to appear because of what happened to him in the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And now that's saying we saw that, and the question is, oh, Scott's going to be there? How did he get out of the sub-dimension that he was supposedly trapped in when the other two whose names just blank out of my mind, they got erased and everything. That's gonna just bring in more questions. Meanwhile, they've not given away anything that would potentially spoil what's going to happen in the Captain Marvel movie that's due for being released roughly about a month or so prior to Avengers 4. Like, it's like, do we really think this is the only trailer for this movie that's going to be released? I guarantee.
I guarantee there's gonna be another one. And to me,
go ahead. I was almost say you'll see one released almost a handful of days after the Captain Marvel movie gets released.
Heck, I think a new trailer is gonna drop during. Before the movie begins. So that's what's going to happen.
Well.
And honestly, I don't know about you, but I'm not fully, into the Captain Marvel. I don't know. It's just me. I just like, it just seems like a more regression type thing. Okay, we need to put her in. Captain Marvel in there. And I'm like, personally, I wish they could have kept Monica Rambeau in there because she was the first one. Instead of just the last one here, like, okay, Carol Danvers, she's there, just put her in there. Because again, it was a recent development, if you look at the comics and such. I'm like, they really wanted to. I would love to have that, but,
they are sometimes doing something like that. Like, it's the reason why they they brought in Scott Lang as Ant-Man, and instead of, it just had the original be his mentor, so to speak. I know a lot of people are excited about having Carol in because they're almost certain that this means we'll be seeing Kamala Khan in some form or fashion as Ms. Marvel or the likes later down the road in that form or fashion. But I don't know. I've been getting really hyped for the Captain Marvel movie, trying to think about where all of this is going to basically this is like the first. This almost brings up not just Captain Marvel's origins, but we're just going to bring up Nick Fury's origins as well. That's something I'm actually really looking forward to. And like I'm saying, this is where it's all going to show how I would almost predict whatever happens with between Nick Fury and Carol Danvers in this movie. That's more or less what you're going to see what inspired Fury to start the Avengers Initiative from the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
I think it's going to be a really exciting origin story prequel movie to look forward to. And also, I think
and Phil Agent Phil Coulson as well, and also I'm looking forward to stuff like that as well. But I don't know, maybe the whole stoic acting is still maybe in the movie that it will probably warm up.
Yeah.
And such. It just, but yeah, I'm then again, I'm looking more forward to the Aquaman movie, which is looking really good. In fact, it actually looks like it's going to make over 100 million in China, which I just heard. I was like, wow. And people said the DC movies are dead.
Well, they have a few good things in mind. I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if I was going to be watching that Aquaman movie. I may go back and watch the Wonder Woman movies, which I unfortunately never got around to. But I'm going to tell you this much, Duke. I've got about as much confidence in the DCEU as you and some other guys probably have in WWE right now, to be perfectly honest. But that's just the way they just completely shot themselves in the foot with the Justice League just kind of really turned me off. It's almost like this. I'm gonna make this comparison. Like when it comes to the DCEU, the stuff like the Wonder Woman movies and hopefully this Aquaman movie, that's NXT. What they've done with the actual Justice League, that's been Monday Night Raw. If you could kind of go with
I
that
feel
analogy.
you. I feel you on that. And I think they're making the right decisions and choices. Alexazam and that looking good, and and the Wonder Woman 84 and the Joker movie that's supposedly coming out, which is looking to be really good. Hopefully it actually will move on to other villains, like say Rachel. I don't know how you spell his name, Al Ghul. And or someone else. I'm not saying like through the movie or something like that, but maybe other villains, like say a good old Red Lantern horror film, which is pretty much would be really good. Think the Rage virus, but with like Green Lantern powers. How would that be fun? I'm surprised James Wan didn't do something like that. Then come on, that's in his element, and I'm just wondering about that. But yeah, the Marvel stuff looks really good. And I can't wait to see all the stuff in the Infinity War. It looks like it's going to be a fun movie, and a goodbye, and a new beginning to shift into other characters and to shift into the new Fast in the MCU. Hopefully, with Black Panther leading the way, since that movie looks like even though I thought it was good. It wasn't as great as everyone says. That movie is getting a lot of awards. It looked like it might get some awards, and it might actually an outside sense get an Oscar. And if this gets the first MCU movie to get an Oscar, I guarantee they're gonna do whatever it takes to get Ryan Coogler and all the people behind Black Panther and lead that to be the tip of the spear as you speak to the entire MCU as Gates and such. I mean, heck, make him the new leader of the Avengers after this whole thing.
I'm gonna say I gotta make two other predictions on the next Avengers movie. First off, and I think this is why another reason the Captain Marvel movie is going to be crucial to the whole storyline. I do expect the Skrulls to have some type of major role in Avengers Endgame. I don't want to give away too much, especially since I can't really predict it. But that's one major guess that I think that may be influential, not just to the whole story, but they may be influential to Thanos as well, and what ultimately is going to happen to him in this next movie. Other thing is like this. It's actually ironic that you bring up the word goodbye. Let's just say I hope that they're going to open this movie with that in memorandum and just get it over with right now then. I mean,
with Sean Lee, Stanley. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's just because I remember when Ninja Turtles 2 came out and they put the in memory of Jim Henson right up there at the start. just put that at the beginning of the movie for Stan Lee, and let's get the tears over with there, and move on to the film itself. Hopefully that can just make, because you know that I think Avengers Endgame will probably be the last movie to have had a cameo of his.
But he has a couple of them actually in the can. Actually, I think he has a couple of them. And the thing is, before you kick me off, but but yeah, I think that the whole thing is going to be centered in very well to most of the phases and such of the entire MCU. Which, by the way, we seem to go lost in the minutia of it, like everyone's starting to the whole comic and cinematic universes, but I mean, this was a huge undertaking, and regardless of what you feel about most of the films, I don't think some of them are good or bad or whatever. I have to give them credit to actually doing something this massive, this amazing, and something that you like the continuity and doing not just the movies. The movie itself is great, but also TV shows. TV shows of like Daredevil, Jessica, all this stuff. The people there, I know Marvel Entertainment stuff are different and such, but the whole
time, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that something eventually, but yeah, but it's amazing. They have made an entire stuff because one of these movies could have just been a franchise on its own. I mean, but to make this huge thing into something of an entire franchise that's why you see Warner Brothers trying to get the DC universe up. They're trying to copy instead of being what they can be. And you look and say what's going on in the TV world, which, tonight they're starting the whole Elseworlds thing. Here's hoping that that's successful, and maybe, they're looking into it. Maybe we'll finally have, which, we'll have another conversation with this because I think I already talked about this on my little shows and everything else, about if they could do something just as crazy, because DC Comics has something like, the Infinity War. It predicts it was Infinite Crisis, and I'm like, I don't know if they're ready to go in the movie sense, but in the TV show sense, they can do that. They got the foundation set. And I'm wondering, could they do that? If they ever do, I wonder if they can ever do that. But that's a discussion for another time.
What Marvel Studios has essentially done is they've brought back a modern day version of the movie Serial, essentially. I mean, something that was done 80, 70 years ago before television even existed is something that, a lot of people might not have thought was even possible. But they've made it to a point where, now the ending of one movie compels you to want to go and see the next one. And it's been a driving force as to how they've been able to build up such an incredible storyline series for 10 years and counting. This is the kind of stuff that, as far as movie making goes, that I think a lot of people for years didn't think was even possible, but a lot of props has to go to for just how much effort has gone into the whole thing.